Thank you. And how often have you felt excluded? When was the last time you were in a situation where you felt you didn't belong and you felt you were the odd one out? I expect every single person in this room has felt that at some time. Now, I had a very early experience of this. I was one of three. I was a middle child, so obviously that also explains a lot. But I was one of three, and my mother was Norwegian. And as everyone in the UK expects, she had 2 children with beautiful blonde hair. I was born, and I know I don't look like it now, it's all a bit grey, but I was born with very dark brown hair. So I felt the odd one out as a very young age. And my brother and sister told me I was adopted. Now, that might also explain a lot about me and my life, but what it did do was that it made me incredibly independent. And I was always going out on my own. I was never really with my brother and sister, playing nicely with them. They were always together, the 2 blonde ones. So I know what it feels like from a very early age to be excluded. Now, when we move to the workplace, what happens if we don't have an inclusive workplace? What's going to happen to all those people who feel excluded, who feel they don't really belong? They're not going to be wanting to operate in a team. They're going to be independent, and that cannot be good for business. Productivity is lower. You're not getting the best out of your people. Which is why I talk a lot about the importance of your culture, your inclusive culture at work. Now, we can put all sorts of policies and practices in our work environment, making sure that our hiring policy is balanced and equal when it comes to different genders. We can do all of that. But it's the culture that really matters. And that is the toughest nut to crack. Now, some of it can be done with upskilling and training our people. And I remember once, years ago, when I was an early manager, this was back in the 90s, and I hadn't really had any training, and we didn't really talk about the importance of diversity and inclusion. And I was an underwriter in an insurance company in the heart of the City of London. And that meant that brokers, the guys who brought your business, and they were nearly all guys, men, they came in and they saw you face to face and negotiated. It was like a trading environment. And one day, this guy came in to me and he said, "Oh, Inga, I've got the short straw today." I said, "What do you mean, John?" "I've got the short straw. I had to come in and see the Spice Girls." Now, some of you may be a bit young to know who the Spice Girls are. But I looked around, and what had I done? I had hired 5 women, or me plus 4 women. So we were called the Spice Girls in the market. Now, I look back and I think, well, I don't know how I did it, because there were no women really working in insurance, but I managed to attract them all. Because, of course, when I was hiring my team, we got on. We had things in common. So I fell smack bang into the trap of hiring people just like me, because I didn't know any better. And that's why culture and the way we actually do our jobs matters more than perhaps some of the policies and practices. And we have to help everyone understand this. One of the other things also is to start having the difficult conversations. And I heard one of the earlier speakers this morning, or this first afternoon session, talking about having difficult conversations, approaching the topics that perhaps people don't want to talk about. Now, I got to be the CEO of Lloyd's. Lloyd's of London is a totally unique place. It's 330 years old. I was the first female CEO in 324 years when I joined. And I didn't really quite know what I was taking on, but I took the challenge. But when I walked around, and it's a physical marketplace, a huge trading room with thousands of people gathered in every day, I looked around. I saw men everywhere, white men. I saw hardly any women. So when I started having my town hall meetings, I addressed this topic. I spoke to the hundreds of people and I said, where are all the women? Where are all the black faces? Where are the gays and lesbians? And I started talking to an audience who'd never been spoken to like that, and my God, the heads were going down, little giggles, perhaps giggles of embarrassment. But I didn't give up. And I kept talking about it, and I kept talking about the need to embrace people not like us. And we have to have those difficult conversations. Because if people aren't feeling included at work and feeling that they can't contribute and be themselves, your business will suffer. And I always remember, just by talking endlessly to all the people about the need for inclusion, they started to form networks of their own. They started to have events. And one of the most emotional moments I had was when the Pride at Lloyd's group launched. The LGBT community got together and they had their launch event. And as I said, Lloyd's, very established, old market, and people had been working there a long time. And I went along this evening and joined in the celebrations of launching Pride at Lloyd's. And then across the room, this gentleman came up to me. He'd been working at Lloyd's at least 30 years. And he looked a little tearful. And he said, Inga, thank you. I never thought I'd see this day. And I thought, yes, he's going to come out as gay after 30 years. But he didn't. But he said to me, my son is gay. And I have never, ever felt able to talk about that at work, for fear of banter, rude comments, inappropriate comments from my co-workers. And he said, and now I am proudly telling all my colleagues at work about my gay son and his partner. Now that is the sort of impact you can have on people's lives, even outside of work, by having an inclusive culture. But it takes all of us, every single one of us, to think about how we can contribute to that, how we can call out inappropriate behaviors anytime we see it. Whether it's the mansplaining that goes on, whether it's the manels. Unfortunately, we don't have any panels made up of just men here. But I took a stand 2 years ago. I said I will never attend a panel if it's not gender diverse. And we can all take these little actions and have a difference, make a difference. We can all be role models. All of you are being watched by somebody. Somebody is watching what you do, what you say, what you tolerate, what you don't tolerate. And we have to keep it at the forefront of our minds all the time. Now, I know we're making huge strides in terms of women. We're getting more women through the pipeline. We still have a desperate shortage of female CEOs. So I will continue to talk about the need for us all to work together on this. But I will also encourage every single woman to go out and smash your own glass ceiling. You can have so much power yourself to smash through that ceiling. Yes, you need supporters. You need the right work environment. You need all of that. But go out, have the confidence to break through, have the comfort, or have the confidence to go out of your comfort zone. I spoke at a women's conference about 10 years ago in New York City. And there was a woman from the Fortune magazine. She'd done a whole interview amongst men and women about power. And she said she was alarmed, and these were senior men and women she'd interviewed for the Fortune magazine. She said, it's so sad, so many women I interviewed didn't want the top job. So why don't we want it? Let's go for it. Nothing Nothing will stop you, or lots of things will stop you if you put a barrier up for yourself. So go after it. Surround yourself by the best people you can. Get the best advice, the best help, and smash through that glass ceiling for yourself. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.